Hello and welcome to a new day with Susan. I'm Susan Yockey, your host, and today I have with me Finn. He's an international transformational and mindset coach and speaker specializing in supporting and inspiring people to develop the inner courage to discover their authentic self, to achieve their highest potential in life and business. A passion for helping people. Started out with a successful career as a PE teacher and sports coach before starting his own business. As an Alexander technique teacher and running coach. Finn is a Jack Canfield certified trainer and a coach's business school mentor coach with an international portfolio of clients. So welcome, Finn, and thank you for being on my show.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm delighted to speak to you and speak to your listeners.
Thank you. Well, first off, I guess my first question is, what does courage mean to you?
To me, courage means so many different things. First of all, courage doesn't exist at the extremes of human endeavor and physical endeavor or emotional, mental endeavor. For me, courage is what ordinary people display on a daily basis. And really trying to help people to reconnect with their courage, because that's our birthright. We were all born with courage. We were born fearless, and we've forgotten about it. We ignore those courageous acts we've done in the past, those challenging conversations that took courage, those challenges in our business or in our family, physical, mental, emotional challenges that we've kind of just, used, got over, ignored, and we've forgotten about because we're so focused on fear. All you hear about is fear. And when you do hear about courage, it's somebody who's done something quite extraordinary. So my whole thing about courage is it exists in all of us, and we display it on a daily basis. And it is something that you can really hook into, you can cultivate it, and it can really serve you if you start developing your inner resources of courage that you were born with. They are innate in all of us. So for me, that's courage. It's a big human resource that we've just kind of forgotten about for many people.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you just said. It is definitely a daily basis thing. I mean, it takes courage to step out your door for some people,
Absolutely.
So share with us your story of, you had shared with me that you had experienced a lot of chronic pain. And I believe that's where your story of really a huge amount of courage showed up in your life a few years ago.
Yeah, sure. Well, I kind of hit a turning point about sort of three years ago. I was mid-40s. I had chronic back pain for 2 years. At the time, I was struggling to work. My wife and I were living in a converted garage with her parents. I had 2 kids under the age of 3, and I just thought, how did I get here? And I was in quite a bad mental place because I was just the pain and just couldn't see my way out of it. What was I going to do? Because I was working for myself. And it was while I was recovering from sort of surgery, spent a lot of time lying around on my back, that I started reading Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. And I just had a little moment of, if I want to change my life, it's my responsibility. I need to change. And his first success principle is take 100% responsibility. Yes. And I started working on myself, started working through his program, reading his book, and then I just discovered that there's all this information out there, and I wanted more of it because I wanted to change. Yeah. which took a lot of courage because I had to reveal my vulnerability, my weaknesses, my fears. It was while I was doing that, I was sitting in probably about a year and a half, 2 years later after that, I just suddenly had a moment where I just thought my whole life has been run by fear. And I realized I had a choice. I could choose to keep letting it be run by fear and fear of failure and my weaknesses, or I could choose to really access the courage that was in me, because I've done lots of stuff in my life, traveled the world, been in dangerous situations, overcome really big challenges that took a lot of courage. And I thought, if I can access those moments, those experiences, and work out how I overcame them, the courage that I kind of demonstrated, then I could change my life from a fear-based lifestyle and attitude to one based around courage. And it's not all on courage at the minute. We've always got fears and challenges, but that's the guiding path that I try and ask myself before I have a difficult conversation or I want to try something else, or it's just, how can I be courageous about this, instead of going focusing on the fears. But I realized that it all stemmed from a very major emotional trauma. When I was 3 years old, I was bitten in the face by a dog with rabies.
Oh, wow.
And although the physical scars had healed, it was the emotional scars that I carried with me. And it was that subconscious programming of trying to, my mind was just trying to keep me safe all the time. So when everything's became a little bit challenging, I retreated to the fear-based subconscious program. So I worked it all out, and now I'm I can leave that behind. I understand that now, and now I understand how my mind works a bit better.
Nice. So when you got bit by that dog, how did you as an adult discover that was the main story that happened back then, how it was impacting your day-to-day life?
I'd long suspected that that was the root cause. It's my first memory. I was 3 years old. It was my first memory. It's vivid memory.
Yeah.
We were living in a remote part of Southern Africa, 200 kilometers from a doctor. I had to fly to South Africa for surgery. I was left in a hospital for days. Just all these things. I knew there were implications. There were effects of that, but I couldn't join the dots.
Yeah.
And there was no kind of counseling. And the more I researched, I basically just went, I will leave no stone unturned to help me become better, to help me find out why I'm living my life like I am. Yeah. I want to understand why I'm making these decisions, why I feel like I do, because I was depressed 3 years ago. I'd realized it had been creeping up on me, and I'd fought it and resisted it and denied it, but it was affecting my family. It was affecting me. I just really explored. I just opened myself up to being vulnerable and finding out more. So I did a bit of theta therapy. I did hypnosis, and it was just contacting people who were in these fields and finding out more. And that's how I pieced the pieces together. It's kind of confirmed it for me. I kind of suspected, and everybody I spoke to said, major trauma in your life, that'll have left deep emotional patterns. So that's what I did. But it was just a conscious decision to actually, I can if I understand that, I'm empowered, and understanding is actually quite liberating, because then you can start putting the dots together and go, right, I understand now. I can let that go, which is the challenging bit. I can let it go, and then I can really focus on rewriting my story. And that's what I try and do with people, is to help them write their own story, recreate the life that they deserve to have.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Because I mean, what you're saying is like, this is possible for anybody. Anybody can do this kind of work and be free from those constraints of those stories that are just lingering in the back there. And what that created for you was the freedom to be fully self-expressed and to step outside of those fears, to take on your life and find out and discover for yourself those kinds of things that you're passionate about. So I love that, because people get an opportunity to hear that they're not alone, for one. And then the second thing that I love about it is you're a man. And there's nothing more, for me, in my experience, of watching a man go through transformation is very beautiful and inspiring. Try not to cry. Because men, you know, they're raised, you got to be tough, suck it up, you know, and then there's that era where you can't be seen or heard, and men always play that tough man role. But really down deep inside, there's this love and this compassion. And even though we know that men and women don't think the same, it's just that vulnerability and that transparency that just, I think, is amazing. And so thank you for being vulnerable and courageous and taking on your life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, make no mistake, it was tough.
I bet.
It was tough because you got all these layers, and it came to a head. I couldn't even speak to my wife about it, how I was feeling. You know, although she knew there was something wrong, I was just so miserable inside. And I think the turning point came for me when I could see the patterns I was repeating that my father had. And bless him, you know, love him dearly, and he was a fantastic father, but he had his emotional trauma through his dad committing suicide when he was 12. And I could see that pattern just kind of, and I was just replicating that. And I made a conscious decision that I didn't want to pass that on to my son. And when I saw that, I just thought, I need to kind of let it out. And it's not the most natural of things for me to do. Still, I'm still a work in progress, but I'm much better at it now. And but once you kind of open the door a little bit on your vulnerability, and just the relief is immense. And then it just starts to get easier and easier and easier. And now I can talk about it and I can share it. And it's improved my relationships with my family. So and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, definitely. Of course. I mean, I think that especially because a lot of people think it's selfish to work on ourselves, but it's really not. It's very giving, and it only benefits humanity itself. So so I just congratulate you on doing the work. And you're right, it's continuous. It's like, I don't know if you're experiencing it a lot this winter, but it's been like a roller coaster ride for me, working through the onions.
Great analogy. Absolutely. And you know, I think the thing is that if you do it once, and you can do it twice, and then then you're prepared for the next thing that kind of comes up, and you're more equipped. You've got the tools, you've got the resilience. So it does tend to get easier.
It does.
But it doesn't get less surprising when they kind of come up.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I know, it's like you're almost like welcome for it. It's like, oh, please, more, please, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. You think you've got it sussed and you've got it nailed, and you think, right, now I'm going to put the foot to the floor, and here we go. And
Yeah.
then, just round the corner, something else sort of rears its head, and then you go, oh, okay. But that's the nature of life, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just get better at, surfing it.
Yeah. So what's it like for you now to actually get to be a coach and a mentor for people that are going through those similar, facing the patterns and the self-doubts? I bet you see a lot of courage.
Yeah, I think that, the first thing is, people who put their hand up and go, can you help me?
Yeah.
That, you've got to recognize that takes courage, because I thought I could work this all out myself. And I did try to work it all out myself. And that's still one of my areas that I need to get better at, is asking for help and admitting that I don't have the answers and so on.
Yeah.
But working with people is, first of all, I just see potential in people. And it's I'm sure you can understand this, when people come to you and you have more belief in them than they have in themselves. You have more understanding of their abilities, their ability to negotiate their way through the situation, but they just struggle to have that belief, and you need courage to have belief.
Yeah.
And belief is kind of like a faith. You've got to have that deep faith in yourself, and people often don't have that, and that's what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. So it's just trying to build them up and build them up and build them up, and get them to really focus on their past experiences, their strength, because I think a lot of people talk about their weaknesses, and it's I just say to people, forget about your weaknesses, don't even go there, just focus on your strengths. Mm-hmm. Because when you focus on your strengths, you suddenly realize that you've got a lot more to you than you thought, and then you can start stepping into your power, because we all have it. And it's tough to recognize when you're feeling down on yourself and life feels like it's just one tsunami after another.
Right.
But as many good mentors will say, that there's always a solution and there's always a reason. And so I just believe that the human spirit, there's so many phenomenal examples of human spirit overcoming adversity, and we just forget about that.
Yeah.
And we always believe it's somebody else. Oh, they've got it. But that's because your focus is outside of you. Focus on you, and then it's phenomenal what people can achieve.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's so beautiful to watch them unfold like that.
Indeed.
So your motto is grow your courage to live your true essence. Tell us more about that.
For me, really, it's just connecting with yourself, your real self-identity, who you are, really, because we cover things up in layers, and we live in a really challenging environment in society where there's so much pressure. We got the comparing mind is kicking in all the time. And there's so many I think people just should all over themselves all the time, which is I did, and we're always trying to keep up with our peers and family, and and it's just kind of trying to get to the real core of you. What do you want? Who do you want to be, irrespective of everything else? And just really connect with your true essence. What is, I just like that word core, your primary core, and then work out what values you want to aspire to, what qualities you want to aspire to, what you want out of your life, what you want for yourself. And then when you understand that, you can live comfortably with yourself. I had a great quote from a colleague of mine this weekend, and she said, you've got to go through life and you have family and friends and so on, but who's going to be the one with you all the way? And the answer is, it's you.
That's good.
Yeah. And I've got a quote above my desk here, and it says, "Be yourself because everyone else is already taken." And learn to live with yourself and be comfortable with who you are,
right.
and work out what that is. And if you don't like what you're seeing, then go to work.
That's right. Go to work.
But have a really clear idea of what's important to you, who you want to be, who you are. And then from there, life becomes a bit more simplistic, and you can make the decisions that will serve you.
Yeah. What are some tips that you would give the listeners? What would be like some tips that you would give them that would help them take action, like right now, listening to the show?
First thing that I did was I sat down and I wrote down all the things that I'd achieved in my life.
Nice.
When was I courageous? From learning to ride a bicycle, learning to walk, first day at school, asking a girl on the first time you asked somebody out on a date, just identifying as many things as you possibly could where you had to show some courage, some bravery, some confidence.
Yeah.
And I just wrote all those down. And once I had those, I kind of was, wow, that feels good. And then connect, what did that feel like, And I went through that, and then I started writing down some of my major fears. And then I just worked out to go, is that fear real, or is it something that I'm creating? And I kind of just, I got it out of me on a piece of paper, and I just sat down and go, well, what could I do, or how could I approach that so it didn't become something that determined my life?
Yeah.
And then I used my courage experiences to go, well, I've done that, and that completely smashes that out of the park.
Right.
So it's just kind of where you put your focus, and once you kind of get an understanding of, actually, I've done some amazing things, and I've forgotten about them. So bring them up and have them where you can see them. And I grew up in Southern Africa. I love African wildlife. So I just started going, right, I want to identify with something that really, gives me a good feeling inside. So I've got big pictures of lions and elephants around the house. And I just really sat down and worked out, I just want to feel good with me. And that's the first thing I did. And that kind of led me to that, okay, there's potential there. I've been there, I've done it. I can go there and I can do it again. So that I would say that's kind of the first thing, really work out who you are and try and get to the bottom of, who you really want to be.
Yeah. I love that. It reminded me of, except for it's right now I can do this now exercise, but another exercise I learned is this girl, she just takes a jar, big enough jar. I think she actually she's a mindset coach. She has several jars, I think. And she will write down her accomplishments of the day and then stick them in the jar. And then at the end of the year, open it up and read them all at the New Year's.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I thought, well, that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
So
I think
to really just remind you that you are more than your thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was another thing I did for quite a long time, was I just wrote down three wins I had during the day.
Nice.
Whether it was I changed my thinking on that, or I asked for that because that was one of my things I didn't want to ask, or I took action here with my business, or I helped somebody here. And it was just actually to get the positive mindset going again.
Yeah.
That and the gratitude, because I would do 3 wins and 3 gratitudes, and and that really kind of, that woke me up.
Yeah.
That woke me up.
Yeah. I know when I lived in a trailer, I remember just thinking how horrible it was. And it was just because I grew up in trailers. And I
Right.
remembered the kids always teasing about trailer trash, or you'd see it in the movies, and, just this stigma around living in a trailer. And so I was like embarrassed to leave the house. I was embarrassed to have friends over. So I lived in this box, literally. And I really just got that, that stuff was from my past, and it's not about what I'm living in. It's about who I am.
Yeah.
And so I gave up that I don't have to be embarrassed, and then just started being grateful for what I have. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. And I mean, there was one point I remember I was homeless. So it just being even grateful during homelessness is really inspiring to kind of keep you there in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anything that you wanted to share with the listeners that it's weighing on your heart to get it out there, or if tomorrow the world ended and you just need to get this message out, what would you say?
I think for me, the big thing is that we live in a society that is pretty well dominated by fear. From what you see on the news and politics, it's fear. So I don't listen to the news anymore. I turn it off. I try and just block that out. And the big thing for me is that you can really make a massive difference to your life if you understand that your conscious thoughts, so what you're accepting, is going straight through to your subconscious. And if you change that setting and surround yourself with good people, try to change your environment, focus on the positive, and really step into your birthright, which is we were born free, we were born courageous, and we all displayed those characteristics when we were little babes, and we screamed our lungs off when we weren't happy and when we wanted something. You've got one chance at it. So go out and be brave enough to be the person you want to be, to live the life that you want to live, because it's possible. Other people do it and they've got nothing behind them. And I'm not talking about going and creating multi-million-dollar businesses or being these entrepreneurs. I think it's just about really connecting what's really important to you, whether it's your family or serving others or being in a charity. But that authentic life takes courage, because it takes courage to ignore what people are saying, and watch what you assume they're thinking, because you can't tell. So, so don't make their assumptions. Just access that deep reservoir of confidence and courage in you, because it's there. It's there in all of us. So that would be my thing, really. Courage. I say there's physical courage, there's mental courage, there's emotional courage, and there's spiritual courage. And it's what you want. Somebody who's big and strong and plays, American football, a physical challenge, they will deal with that. They won't need a lot of courage. But you give them an emotional challenge, they might walk the other way. So, there's different aspects and elements of courage. Go and look for them, because they're in there within all of us. So that would be my thing, really. I developed a 7-stage process to cultivate courage, which I share with clients. That was just the way I kind of went about it, because I firmly believe it's like a garden. The thoughts that you plant in your head are like seeds, and you either want to grow thistles and thorns, or you want to grow roses and fruit and vegetables. The choice is yours. So you can
Right.
either choose to live a courageous, have a courageous attitude to life, or you can let fear dominate. And if you choose
Yeah.
courage, the fear subsides. It doesn't go away. It gets less impactful on you.
Yeah. And it's like I believe that there's certain behaviors too that you have, those patterns of behaviors.
Yeah,
So like I've had tons of breakthroughs. The only difference now is I'm out here. I'm aware of the stuff that was in the background, and now it's out here, and it's just more obvious. So when I notice it, like being defensive or something,
sure.
I always just take a look and say, okay, well, where's that coming from?
Yeah,
And it's either coming from the past or one of those stories, and I just let it go and move on. Um, but what I was thinking too was, yeah, you wanted to share about like what it is that you do in your coaching, and you had an offer for the listeners.
yeah, certainly. So I offer anybody who's interested. I do a 30-minute. We just have a chat. We just find out where you're coming from, get some perspective. And I developed a process, or my program is based on what I call the pride process.
Okay.
Funnily, it sort of coincides with the whole courage, and I love lions. So
Yeah.
if somebody comes on board with my 12-week or 24-week program, so we just get perspective first of all. So that's the P. Their perspective, my perspective, any other perspective. So understand where they are and where they want to go to. Then we create a roadmap so they can start making some progress, and then we implement some strategies and systems to speed that up. So that's the I, and then we start developing it. So it might just be in one area of their life that they want to have some work on, and then we start growing into other areas of their life. And then the E at the end is we then expand. We see what's working, and then we see what the potential and the possibilities are, and then we just open the doors and set them free, basically. So I do a 12-week program, I do a 24-week program, but it all starts to see if there's if we resonate with each other, and that just ends up we start off with a 30-minute chat, and
Nice.
I work with people from all over. So just want to serve.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you, do you tend to have more male clients versus female, or is it about equal, or female more than men?
I tend to attract more female clients. Yeah, it's interesting. I've had sort of very few male clients, and I don't know whether it's because of what I do with my done in the past with my therapy. I've got quite a strong, I suppose, female part to me. I'm very close to my sister. I've got a lot of female friends, kind of 50-50 male, female, young family. So you see what goes on on the female side a lot. I work with a lot of, because I had a natural therapy practice, work with a lot of women as well. So yeah, I think it's just the way it is. I think also because in the UK, men are quite emotionally repressed.
I think
and
that's
it's changing.
In the US too.
Yeah, it's slowly changing, but so by and large, mostly women. But I'm keen to work with both male and female.
Yeah, awesome. So what's your website? Where could our listeners?
So my website is Kellwo-Webb.com. So
and we'll also have that posted in the
fab,
Facebook.
And there's a free courage, there's a free Kickstart program on there, so anybody can go on there and just get a 10-day quick start if they want to make some changes. So if they're new to coaching or personal growth, and the contact details are there. And I mostly work with individuals, but I can also work with groups as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Finn, for your time and you're calling in from UK, right?
But yeah, I'm based
That's
in
what I
the
love about this. I get to talk to people from all over.
yeah.
It makes it so fun.
I'm near Winchester, which is the old capital of England, where King Arthur's Round Table is. So I'm down in the south here, and the snow's just about melted. We're not used to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm very grateful for the invite, Susan.
Yes, thank you. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day, and for the listeners, I would like to give you an action, and it's to take what Finn said and write down, just start writing. What are those things that you accomplished throughout your life? And you're welcome to share it on my page. Would love to hear your feedback. And continue bringing in the excellent comments. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me on Facebook at A New Day with Susan. And I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.